$1 million.
Ich war Lehrer von der Akademie. Und doch habe ich allein auf mich gestellt, ganz Europa erobert. Verräter! Von allem Anfang an bin ich so verraten und betrogen worden!
It's not. Okay then. We hold the world ransom for $100 billion.
Seid Feiglinge! Verräter, Versager!
Sorry about that. Welcome to Weekend Refresh. So, you might have noticed I tend to get a little distracted sometimes when I'm doing these videos, and usually that has to do with what is on Twitch TV the Saturday I am filming this show. It just happens to be that today is UFGT 10 in Chicago, so there's a lot of interesting things to distract me. And apparently YouTube thinks this distraction is worth $1 billion. As of last weekend, there was a report by Variety saying that YouTube was eyeing to buy Twitch TV for $1 billion. But then a couple hours later, the Wall Street Journal released a different story saying that there hasn't been a price set yet, and a deal might be happening between the two, where Variety was saying the deal is imminent and they're just waiting for government approval for the transaction to go through. So there hasn't been any follow-up on this since last weekend. We'll have to wait and see. Personally, I don't think YouTube imposing their restrictions on Twitch is a very good thing, so I'm hoping this one just turns out to be a rumor. And dispelling some other rumors, one of the more interesting games from last year's E3 from Ubisoft was the new Tom Clancy game, The Division. It was that one where it's sort of like an MMO and people can control drones with their tablets, and it looked really good for a next-gen game, actually a little bit suspiciously too good, and people were surprised when it was supposed to be coming out this year. Well, thanks to that Ubisoft investor call from last week that also outed Far Cry 4, well, The Division isn't coming out this year. It got delayed till 2015, but the good news is now they have confirmed a PC version is also in the works. And while we're dealing with rumors and speculation from last week, Halo 5 Guardians, nothing new has been announced, but we still have a follow-up article that includes 2 pieces of concept art and confirmation that the game does run on a new engine, which was pretty much already mentioned last time, considering it runs at 60 frames per second and uses dedicated servers. As for the rest of the speculations, our writer happens to think the game will be open world, and maybe we'll see more at E3. I personally don't think we'll be seeing any, if not much, Halo 5 at E3, but here, I'll have my own crazy speculation. So the name of the game is Halo 5 Guardians, right? Well, the Guardians are also the name of the main characters in Destiny from Bungie. Ooh, think about that for a second. Doesn't mean anything, but let's speculate. And while the name Halo 5 Guardians probably has absolutely nothing to do with Destiny, when you name a website, it should probably have something to do with what you're selling or talking about. One site I particularly enjoy visiting is GOG.com or Good Old Games. It's a great site for picking up classic PC games at a really good, cheap price, and they're all DRM free. The news this week in our new article is about them considering an early access program on Good Old Games, which sort of makes you think of early access to an old PC game. That doesn't quite make any sense, but interesting enough, Good Old Games does carry new titles as well. And Steam has seen quite a bit of popularity with their early access program. Personally, I think it's kind of a scam where you have to pay a developer to be their free beta testers. But if there's enough interest, it looks like Good Old Games is going to implement this program. And as much as I get pissed off by early access games, one thing that pisses me off even more is when a developer goes to Kickstarter when they clearly have enough money to develop a game. And they're very well established. One particular developer, Harmonix, who you'll know for creating not only Guitar Hero and Rock Band, but since being an independent developer, has made about $100 million on the Dance Central franchise for Kinect, launched a Kickstarter this week, well, not this week, but a month ago, about reviving the PlayStation 2 game Amplitude. Amplitude is also an IP owned by Sony, so Sony could have easily given them the $600,000 to make a new Amplitude game, but no, they turned to Kickstarter. And so I put up 4 different Kickstarters this week as part of my semi-regular article, and in the article I was happy that there was only 3 days to go and it looked like Amplitude still had $100,000 to go. No way it was going to happen. Well, it happened. So Amplitude is funded, and I'm kind of pissed and depressed at the same time. But you know what's not depressing is one of the other games on this Kickstarter list, Super Hot. It's a very interesting first-person shooter where time is frozen until your character moves. So it's kind of like the bullets coming at you and dodging and chopping bullets out of the air with swords. Looks really good. They're already double past their goal. And there's 2 other games. One funded, one has already been canceled. It was a 2D fighter called The Chainsaw Incident, but there will be a new Kickstarter for that one. There's all sorts of reasons why that one failed, and just go ahead and read the article if you want to see for yourself. Another great thing about Super Hot was the very smart idea to implement Oculus Rift support. So when those bullets are flying at you, you can dodge and weave using a VR headset, which totally makes sense. What doesn't quite make sense is doing that exact same thing, except putting it on a 10-year-old in Chuck E. Cheese. But that's exactly what's going on in Texas right now. There's a trial program being implemented where Oculus Rift is in Chuck E. Cheese. And they haven't said which games are being featured or which version of the Oculus it is, if it's one of the older dev versions or the newer Crystal Cove version. I would imagine probably you with a wired VR headset on a hyperactive kid, go for the slightly cheaper, more durable model. If there's any video or more news about this, I'm sure we'll follow up on it. Oh yeah, and somebody got hit in the nuts in 2006 playing Dance Dance Revolution, and now we have an article about it. The reason why this is coming up is there was a court case involving this. Since the guy got hit in the nuts so hard, something about making him infertile, and supposedly there's a verdict, but the article doesn't say, so who knows what the verdict was or how much the offending party had to pay. You want that kind of information, you won't find it on this website. Now, if you want to blow off Hitler's nuts with a sniper rifle, that's the kind of information you can get from our website. I have an op-ed this week in celebration of the new Wolfenstein New Order game, showcasing 9 different games that feature everybody's either most hated or most beloved evil dictator Adolf Hitler. felt kind of awkward writing this article and researching it. A lot of Google searches for Hitler, so I'm probably on some list now. But you'd be surprised where Hitler's shown up. And because it's interesting enough to me, I put together a little montage of some of Hitler's greatest video game moments. And I've actually been playing Wolfenstein: The New Order this week, and I have to say I'm surprised. I had very little expectations for this game, considering how terrible the last Wolfenstein game was, and it's really, really good. The characters actually have personality, it's fun to play, it's well designed, so it just goes to show if you make a crappy game, don't necessarily rule out the next game in the series. This leads into Alien Isolation, which comes on the heels of Aliens Colonial Marines, probably one of the worst games ever made, not only for just being terrible to play, but they totally messed up the movie storyline, bringing back characters that were supposed to be dead. So Alien Isolation, first glance, story-wise seems to be doing the same thing, considering you're playing the daughter of Ellen Ripley, Amanda Ripley, who we all know died in the movies. But you have to delve into the plot a little bit to see that Amanda died in Aliens after Ellen Ripley was frozen for like 60-something years after original Alien movie. So Alien Isolation takes place between Alien 1 and Aliens, where Ellen Ripley's, frozen off in outer space somewhere, and Amanda Ripley is actually looking for her mother. And this is about the time where she's like in her early 20s. It's sort of like a stealth horror action, well, not really action, stealth horror, if you can even call that a genre, where you're being hunted by one singular alien drone, but you don't have big chain rifles and plasma guns and all that stuff. You have to hide and use the environments to your advantage. Looks pretty good. We're hopeful about this game. The preview gives you a lot more details in video, and the game's going to be coming out this year on October 7th. And be sure to check out this week's weekly LAN build, where we go on an extreme budget edition. And for all the LAN events in your local area, as well as the latest gaming news and previews, visit gamersunite.com. Now let me get back to this.